Senator Pat Toomey, who just happens to be here, speaking of Senator Pat Toomey. So, Mr. Toomey, I'm going to congratulate you. You got the 11 other Republicans to walk away. Tell us about this unexpected, but in my opinion, delightful story.
Well, Larry, thanks very much for having me. So there's really two discrete messages here. One is, you pointed out quite rightly that Ms. Raskin has repeatedly, frequently, in writing and in speeches, advocated for turning the Fed into a policy body, especially with respect to climate. That, in my view, is more than sufficient cause to reject her nomination to serve on the Federal Reserve. By the way, she'd be the vice chair of supervisory powers. That's an enormously powerful post. But the reason that we did not attend the votes in the committee today, and by doing so, we deprived the Democrats of a majority and precluded them from getting this done. The reason is because we can't get answers to simple, basic questions. As you pointed out, the Reserve Trust, a Colorado-based fintech, applied for an account with the Fed, a master account. It's a very, very valuable thing. They were turned down. Then Sarah Raskin, on the board of the Reserve Trust, calls the Fed, and within months, the Fed does a 180-degree reversal and grants the master account. No other fintech that I'm aware of anywhere in America has gotten this account. Many would love to have it. We've simply asked some questions about how did the Fed do this 180-degree reversal? What was the rationale behind it? Was Ms. Raskin advocating for them? The president of the Kansas City Fed acknowledged that Ms. Raskin did in fact call. But when we asked Ms. Raskin about the call, she develops amnesia. She just can't seem to recall. Can't seem to recall much of anything about her role on Reserve Trust. Can't even recall why Reserve Trust wanted a master account, which was their biggest ambition as a firm at the time. So, Larry, we're not getting honest, straightforward answers to important questions about what appears on the surface to be highly unusual. And I think that means we shouldn't be voting. By the way, we're perfectly happy to have votes on the other nominees, the other 5 nominees that were scheduled for a vote today. Some will get some Republican support, some will get no Republican support. We could have those votes. But with Ms. Raskin, what we need to have is answers to our questions.
Senator Toomey, did Ms. Raskin call the president of the Kansas City Fed in her plea for her fintech company's privileges?
She did call the president of the Kansas City Fed. Nobody's told us exactly what the content of that conversation was, but she did make that call on behalf of Reserve Trust to her former colleague, by the way, because remember now, Ms. Raskin herself previously was a governor at the Fed.
So no, I do.
She did make that call.
That would have been Esther George, is that right?
That is correct.
And has Esther George said anything publicly, or have you called her to testify to figure this out?
So I've spoken with her, and we've gotten a very, very superficial explanation that everything's fine, everything was done by the rules. But we can't get any kind of detail for how they came about the decision to reverse their prior decision. What was the rationale? What was the change in circumstances? Maybe it's all perfectly fine, Larry, but if so, why not share the documents with us? Why not tell us the story? Our job is to provide oversight of the Fed as well as other agencies. How can we do that if nominees to go back on the Fed board refuse to give us any answers?
So just to follow up on that again, Ms. George and the Kansas City Fed rejected the master account application before Raskin. Is that what is that correct?
And that is correct. Initially, they rejected the application. Ms. Raskin calls Esther George at the Kansas City Fed, and subsequently they approved the transaction. And all I want to know is, okay, lay it out for us. What changed? Why did you do that reversal? And I think the American people in Congress should know.
Well, those applications will have plenty of paperwork behind them. I mean,
sure
both the application and the Fed's response to the application. I mean, ironically, it was in the last 3 centuries ago, but I once worked at the New York Fed as a special assistant in bank supervision. So I know a tiny bit about that, unless the game has changed. Pat, let me just go back. I am concerned, very concerned, about Ms. Lisa Cook. whose views are very, very radical. I mean, I think any objective observer, she's never written about monetary policy, Fed policy, macro policy. She's had public statements in favor of helping out the looters and the rioters. She thinks America's racist. She wants slavery reparations. You know, Professor John Cochrane did a review of her written work. The most cited the most cited piece was about small business credit in Russia. I mean, you know, this is a moment, as you well know, given this inflation blow-up, which is what we're experiencing. We're hitting double digits. I mean, the PPI was 10% year on year, essentially. There's no room for people like her. I'm sorry. It's not personal with Ms. Cook. I'm just saying these are. I don't think Lael Brainerd is a far-out radical. Okay, I want to say that. I think she's a liberal. There are things I disagree with, but I don't think she's a nutty radical. This woman here, I'm sorry. Everybody who's looked at her has said she's completely unqualified.
Well, and not only that, but this is happening at a moment where wokeism seems to have infected the Fed generally. We have regional Feds conducting all kinds of programs adopting a radical left view of systemic racism. We've got climate warriors, you know, advocating that the Fed become the arbiter of who gets capital. We even have the Minneapolis Fed, the president and the board, aggressively endorsing an amendment to the Minnesota Constitution regarding K through 12 education.
Oh, Lord, I know.
What does that have to do with the Fed's mission?
I knew Kashkari when he was working for Hank Paulson in the Treasury, doing mathematics and arithmetic for the bailout. I mean, he's just gone completely off the deep end. It's too bad, because he's a nice guy and a smart guy, but he's gone nuts. Listen, we got to get out of here. Senator Toomey, I just want to say you have a backbone of steel, sir.
Well,
you have a backbone of steel. Honestly,
we're doing this for America, and I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to prevail here, Larry.
Good work. Good. We need about 65 Pat Toomeys. Anyway, thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
Coming
Larry.
up next on Kudlow.